So it should work. We all
I
have
tried freezing, but it didn't work. No.
You ready?
Oh yeah, born ready, Jamie.
You have 3 games.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about
Board games
and
board gamey things.
Exactly. Obviously, today we are not here alone. We are joined by Board Gaming Ramblings, and we're going to throw it over to them to introduce themselves.
Hello, this is Johannes.
And I'm Sunniva.
And as I said, we are Board Gaming Ramblings. We also have a YouTube channel, which is a huge shock, and where we do talk about board games, because board games are fun. It would be weird if we had a channel talking about dinosaurs, and now we're on this show. But
Maybe.
yes, but the top 10 dinosaurs. I don't know. That's not
Road
the
watch.
list.
I now
Yes.
want you.
Dinosaurs.
I now want you to have a dinosaur channel.
Can you make that
I'm
happen?
sorry, we do not have that.
What a letdown.
We do boring stuff like board games.
Yes.
We do reviews. We do top 10 lists. And,
We're also playing through our whole collection and seeing if we want to keep them or cull them.
yes.
Which is a project that has no time
No.
of ending. Yes.
We were trying to do the whole thing in 2021.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
No.
We played like
still going.
we played over
strong.
400 games in 2021, but we're still doing it. That is us.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I love it because, I mean, for anybody who's watched your channel, 1, 2, 3, boom is
Yeah.
going to be the one thing that, like, I was walking around the house one day, literally just going 1, 2, 3, boom. 1, 2, 3, boom. Like, stop. Like, I can't stop.
I don't know if we told you guys this, but like when we first got into this space, we only watched like a few before we knew that there was a ton of channels, all these
Yeah.
things. We only watched a few, and you guys were one of them.
Yeah.
So like
Oh.
you were one
Cool.
of the first channels we watched when we really got
Yeah.
into the
Because
hobby.
we started in 2021,
Yeah.
right? So that's probably when we found you guys, because that's when we found pretty much
Everyone.
we
Yeah.
just started to uncover. But yeah, 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, boom.
1, 2, 3, boom.
Anyways,
That is very nice to hear that you
yeah.
enjoyed the stuff and you were not like, oh, we need to stop playing board games now. These people are horrible.
No, they're telling us we need to get rid of all of our games. Today's video is all about our top 10 most innovative games.
Part 2.
Part 2.
Nice.
So our part 1 is actually over on Board Gaming Ramblings channel. So if you want to get the scoop on the first 5 games that we talked about and that they talked about, you have to go over there. Like, mandatory, watch that first, then watch this.
You are not allowed to watch this video until you go over there
Yeah.
and watch the first part,
We'll
and then
literally
come
will
watch.
wait.
We will know.
We'll know.
We will know.
Might ask how.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it, sweetheart. Okay, we'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
We'll know.
So we've already talked about our first 5. So we're going to talk about our last 5. And
These are not in any ranking order.
no order.
Let's reiterate that.
And we're reiterating. Now, you've already heard this because you've watched the first
Because
video.
you've watched the first one. But just in case you're cheating,
Just in
which we'll
case.
know.
Yeah, we will know. Number 1, have we played every game in the world? Believe it or not, no.
We haven't.
So they're innovative to us.
Shocker.
And that's really the only prerequisite.
Prerequisite, yeah.
Yeah.
Let our guests go first.
Yes. Over to you.
Let's do it.
Floor is yours.
Yeah, because as you know already from watching the first half, we have come together and made a you
List
have made
together,
your list
yes.
together, and we have made our list together
Mhm.
because we have five games.
That's true. That's the 5 games.
Yes.
And we're going to do the first one, which is 1 game. And it's this game.
It's Mystic Veil, and this is the first game from designer John DeClaire, and he has this really interesting card crafting system. It's basically the game. So you
Bye.
you have
The thing I remember is that John DeClaire actually had his idea for Edge of Darkness, the big game that has this card crafting system as well. As this is like a history lesson, which I think is true, is that he had that idea and then AG said, that's too much. We have to introduce people to this system. And then he just made this probably in a day. This is all facts that I made up. That he just made this game like in 5 minutes. He was like, this is the game. And they were like, wow, we love you now, John DeClaire. And he got to publish this game. and now he publishes many games from AEG. But yeah, I think that's the first printing of Mystic Wave. I think in the rulebook there is a ad for Edge of Darkness, which came out like quite a few years later. But that is the game. And as you said, did you explain why it was innovative?
Yeah, it's the card crafting system.
Yeah, because you add layers to the card. You already said that, but I didn't listen. That's Mystic Whale. Did you play this game?
We have not.
But we've played Dead Reckoning.
We have played Dead Reckoning, which uses the same system. And John D. Clare, like, we love. He's one of my favorite designers. And weirdly enough, we haven't played this.
No, and we've knighted him. He is actually Sir John D. Clare.
That's really cool.
In this
I love it.
Yeah.
And he's really good at making innovative games, like taking something and then just doing like a little bit of change on it.
Yeah.
And that is, we also like most of his games.
Yeah, Dead Reckoning was like
super cool
as well.
Yeah. The next game on our list is going to be Turing Machine, and this is from Le Scorpion Mask.
Great French.
Thank you. And so essentially, like, Turing Machine is innovative because I feel like it's like a computer made of paper.
That's fact. I'm only laughing because it's ridiculous, but it's true.
But it's basically like you're doing code breaking, and it comes with all of these different puzzles, and you are like making guesses, and then you're checking your guesses to see how right you are until you can figure out and solve the whole puzzle. I have not played anything like this. It is enjoyable. It is frustrating. It is unique. It's just totally different. And I feel like this is something that you could play solo, you could play with others. And yeah, it's like paper computer.
Yeah, this completely broke my brain the first time I played it. It's so unique in the fact that like they continue to release like daily puzzles as well that you can play and try and figure out. It takes like any game you've played with like code breaking or anything of that nature, it's just taken that out and just made a game around code breaking. It's one that you can just play all the time and it never gets old because it's always a new puzzle.
Yeah. Have you guys played this one?
Yes, I personally love deduction games. So this is really one that I've enjoyed as well. We got it at Spiel in 2022. And we have only played these simple puzzles.
Yeah.
And I would really like to try something more complicated. But my brain also broke the first time because I was just like, I have checked this. But what does it mean again? Like, is it the, wait a minute. So it's absolutely super unique in that you have to think a little differently from other deduction games, I think.
Yeah. I also like deduction games, but I never win because I play with Sunniva. And so that's not in the cards. It's not going to happen.
So next time for us is...
A game.
It's Sorcerer City. And this is a real-time tile-laying deck building game-ish.
Yes?
Yes.
Ish.
All right.
So you're building the Sorcerer City, and something happens so that you have to build it more times.
I think there's a theme.
Yeah, I think there's a theme here.
I don't know.
But every time you rebuild it, you have acquired more tiles to add to your city. And also there are some monsters that will, destroy your plans. And you're trying to build your city in the best way possible before the time runs out, which the first time around is very easy because you don't have so many tiles. But by the third time you're trying to build the city, it's like, oh, it's 10 seconds more and have this pile left. Okay, let's just like see how it goes. And it is like the only game of its kind, I feel like. I have not played anything like this.
No, I love like Scott Caputo. He wanted to make like a real-time deck building game, I think. And then
they told him it's too complicated. You have to...
This is real facts. That's the last game.
I don't know.
No, but he kind of wanted to do that, and he found, okay, if it's a tiling game, but it has to make sense that you're doing it over and over. Like, for example, playing Carcassonne, it wouldn't make any sense. Like, and now you have to tear down the city and build it again. That would be a weird theme, but you could probably do it.
You do it like a fire. I don't know why it had to be like that. Happened in Norway all the time.
That is
like
true. Everything burned out all the time.
Yes.
Every day. But yeah, also it has an app with the music, and the music is like 99% the theme from Avengers.
Yes.
They kind of just like changed 2 tones, I think. So every time you hear it's like, oh, this is Avengers, no, it's Ocean City. But it's a nice game. It's one of those games I always enjoy playing because it's fun.
I
never even heard of
never
this
heard
game.
of it, but just based on that box art alone, I want to play it.
Yeah.
Next up from Osprey Games, we have Brian Baru or Brian Boru, however you want to pronounce it. Doesn't matter to me. Potato, potato.
Potato, potato.
Brian Boru is a trick-taking area control game. 2 of my favorite mechanics combined into one, and I've never played any game that has those 2 mechanics combined.
It's very unique.
It's very unique in that regard, at least for us, and one I absolutely fell in love with as soon as we played it. So in Brian Baru, you are basically playing a trick-taking game, and depending on how many tricks that you take or the order of operations in terms of those tricks are going to allow you to manipulate the shared board, where ultimately you are taking over different areas for area majority or going up certain tracks that will give you certain bonuses in the game in order to score victory points. That's the basic premise of the game.
Trick taking beyond just a card game.
Yeah.
Like it just adds to the physical game itself. And yeah, there's so much going on in this game, but I think that is kind of the key component. It's like, oh, we're playing trick taking, but this is an area control. There's a board though.
Yeah,
like,
I think
it's confusing.
I think there's a lot of games now that are taking, or a lot of designers that are taking mechanics of games and then building a game around a mechanic. And this game took trick taking and built a game around it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was super unique.
Have you guys played it?
No, we haven't. We kind of almost bought it a couple of times, but haven't done it.
Sounds really cool.
Have you heard about it?
No, I have never heard about it.
Because you usually don't hear about games before we own them.
Yes, we already have them in the house when I have the pleasure to.
The first time we played this was at Dice Tower West. And if this hadn't been brought out by someone else and plopped onto the table for us just to play, I don't think Jamie would have touched it. Just based off of this. This is not Jamie's aesthetic at all. It's mine, but not Jamie's.
It is ours as well. Like a bit too much color, maybe.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of. The box has way more color than the board does.
Yeah, the board.
So, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Super beige.
Oh,
yay!
So yeah,
but it is a 3-player minimum.
Yeah,
so that's the problem with it too. Like we can't Jeff and I just can't sit down and play it.
Yeah.
So many trick-taking games that are coming out now that are quite unique and are like experimenting on the genre. Like trick-taking games, it's a lot of our trick-taking games on the list that almost became
And I think it's interesting the thing that you said, that designers are taking mechanisms and making games around them. I think like we of course we've seen it with deck building. Like it started with Dominion, and then we had like, I think Trains is the one that is having like I think that was the first one. It had the board, and then of course Clank is the big one. Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see if we get more of those.
Yeah,
we kind of had like almost kind of like a roll and write with Rise last year, that's being a board game, but it wasn't really roll and write, even though it felt like taking that 60 billion tracks and that combo thing. So that is like, I haven't thought about it that way, but it's going to be interesting to see, because I love it when designers take something and they're like, okay, how can we do this in a bigger way or in a different way? So that is gonna, what other mechanisms we would love to say, that might be a list for another time.
Yeah. Have at it. Yeah, it's like, it's like the Arnax and the Dunes and the Endless Winters. It's like, here's worker placement, but we're going to put deck building in with it. Like it's just, they keep combining these things together, and it's
working.
So far, no crossovers, which is a lot of fun for the viewers. And I think I love this list because it's like so different and so many fun games that I have not heard about and played. Next up, we have this game right here, Sulkin. Let's put it on your side so people actually see it.
In front of me. That's really
nice.
nice.
I was thinking, not behind a big bar that says their names.
Oh, yeah.
Sulkin, the Mayan calendar, is a kind of worker placement-ish game. But the big thing about this one, I think it's still pretty unique and still pretty innovative, is the wheel that's turning. So it's a kind of simple game. It's not simple because I never figured out how to win, but kind of on your turn, you can either put out workers or you can take them in. and you want the workers to be out for a while so that every time the wheel turns, which is every round, it's going to move. So the action is going to get better and better. And you try to time this so that you can take in multiple workers to do like things that give you combos. And you're trying to plan ahead so that you know that, okay, I need this to move 5 spaces. So then I need to be able to either take in other meeples, or they're not meeples, they're cylinders, or place out cylinders. Very weird people, but they look like cylinders.
Yeah, it's not worker placement, it's cylinder placement. That's what is so unique.
That's the
about
unique
the game.
thing. You place meeples, you place cylinders instead. And it's also a very good game. This is like another kind of advertisement. We are going to do like a top list of all the T games, like ranking them. We recently did a Cerno video, and so we're starting to play through them. So we recently played this, and it's one of those games that I have so much fun every time I play it, but I also have no idea what I'm doing.
No, yep. It's a very hard game to master, and like the cogs is, I haven't seen it anywhere else. I think it's a really clever design, but it's also sometimes a little mind-boggling to wrap your head around. Have you played this one?
We haven't.
No.
I mean, I feel like it's a classic that we should have played at this point, but we've never.
No.
There's so many games.
Yes.
It's like you can't play them all. But it's not one you have like a huge desire to play.
We've heard a lot about the T games, like a ton about them, and I feel like we owe it to ourselves to try them. But you're right, like it's tough, and I'm sure you guys are aware. Like the further you get into this hobby, especially in the content creation space, it's tough to go back to the old games to find even just the time to go back and do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest hurdle.
Yeah, that was that was one of the biggest reasons for us to start the Game Cal series, to play the games that was sitting on the shelf for 5-6 years and never getting touched.
Yeah.
Even like our favorite games, because when it sounds like, oh, it's so weird, it's so horrible to be content creators, we don't get to play our favorite games. We can choose that ourselves, but as you're saying, it just happens.
I'm going to go with one of these ones that we don't own.
One of the 2 we don't own.
Yeah, we have 2 on the list that we don't own. But the one I want to talk about is called Gloom. This is such an interesting and unique little kind of like card game. The cards are clear. So almost kind of like that John D. Clare element of like building, like stacking the cards and creating a story. But the theme is unique in itself. You are trying to make your family as miserable as possible before they die. And the way that you like stick it to somebody else is you make their family happy. And you're like, take that, your family's happier than mine, you idiot. But like, this was the first game that we ever played with those clear cards. And there's also like a slight little, like, there's a storytelling element to this game where like, in order to fully play it and like really be invested in it, you have to like build out your story and say, this is how miserable my family is and whatever it might be. It was just like such a totally unique experience that we never had before.
Yeah, it's interesting because you have to put these cards one on top of each other, and normally they have iconography on them, and a lot of the times it's negative. So it's this checks and balances of like playing these cards out, but not covering iconography that you might need in order to do certain actions. And I think it's somewhat dissimilar to the John D. Clare stuff, where it's like, you know, you're getting extra actions or what have you.
Did you ever play?
I have tried it once, maybe, but it's so long ago. I don't remember anything but the unique theme.
But the thing is, we do have a copy.
Oh,
so we are going to go to play it for Keyboard. Yeah, it's in a shelf. It's like in a what is it called again? It's not a shelf. It's a drawer. It's in a drawer. It's like a super small drawer on the table upstairs. Because this is one of the first games I ever bought. Like in the beginning, I played a lot of Magic the Gathering. That's where I came from into gaming. And then somebody introduced me to playing Dominion, and I played one of my most hated games now. But if you like it, people on the internet, if you like it, it's fine. I don't like it, but you can. It's Munchkin. I played that so many hours, and now I think it's one of the worst things ever made. But happy for you if you like it, as long as I don't have to play. And also this was kind of like in that rotation, and then I got boring, and now I just want to do worker placement with Beige stuff. I haven't played it probably in 10 years.
That sounds about right.
So it's gonna be, we have to like be in the mood, I think, to play it. And I need to like cut down on all of the getting points and doing Euro stuff and just whimsical stuff.
And it's one of those infamous drawer games.
Yeah,
we know all about
yes.
the drawer games. Out of sight, out of mind.
There's too many games. Okay, we have another one. We actually have two more. This is kind of like a placeholder for the one I'm kind of talking about. It's the same game and not the same game. It's Pandemic this way. Pandemic Legacy. This is Season 0. We have actually only played half of this because time. And one of the people we played it with, he moved away. So not because he didn't like us anymore, but because he got a job. Just so you know. So I don't know why that was information you needed, but now you have it.
It's important. That's important to know.
Yeah.
Yes, you will know when you write the book, the memoir of Board Gaming Ramblings, you will know that the person moved away because of a job. Pandemic Legacy Season 1, you didn't play that one.
No, so this is kind of your pick, but I fully support it.
You played the Season 2.
Yeah.
Pandemic Legacy Season 1. Like, we first wrote Risk Legacy on this list because that was the first Legacy game. And we played that like the first few times, but it was still Risk and we didn't like Risk too much. And then when Pandemic Legacy came out, and I do not like Pandemic. I usually do not like co-op games, which is weird if you look at this whole list. Pandemic Legacy was for me taking Pandemic and making me care. And also, I end up knowing then that I am a big sucker for these kind of opening things and reading things and then being like blown away. Like it was the first time a board game made like the hairs stand on my arm because stuff happened and we were like, what is going on? Things that has happened later in board games, and we love that feeling because we love storytelling or campaign games. But Pandemic Legacy, in taking that legacy thing that they made for Risk Legacy and then putting it into Pandemic, which was a perfect fit. It was about saving the world, and then it made me care because if it was an outbreak in New York, it was going to be there for the rest of the game, and the game was 24 games and not just one. And just all of that and seeing the legacy elements, I think I back like almost every single legacy game that comes out because I know we're not going to get time to play them all, but I know that I just want to open stuff.
Yeah, open stuff. And this
kind
of opened the door to that genre, really. Yeah.
We are also in the same boat of like, we don't like Pandemic, the regular game. And we've never, because of that, we've never explored any of the Pandemic legacies, any other version of Pandemic. And we actually just put out a video recently where we're like, I feel like we need to give this a second chance. And if we were, what is the one that we should play? Because I feel like the right route is Legacy.
Most of the recommendations that were given to us were either to play that one that you have or Iberia.
100%.
Yeah, I think Legacy Season 1 is one of my best gaming experiences.
I love Legacy games. You nailed it. I have the same feeling. Like, what's the thing I'm going to open? And I struggle with it because I just want to like cheat. I'm like, let's just open these.
Open everything. Yeah.
I'm kind of like a purist in that. Like when we're done with something, like a campaign game or a story game, Sunniva always want to look through everything.
I want to open everything
but
and see what I missed.
I want to kind of like have the experience that we had being the experience we had. So Sunniva sometimes sit like looking at the things and not telling me because I don't want to know.
I get that. Wake up at night and just like check
in the middle of the night, like I had it over the floors.
This one's heavier than it seems.
Oh my gosh.
Catacombs. Catacombs this is the 3rd edition of Catacombs, the only one we've played. However, Catacombs is a dexterity-based dungeon crawler.
Wild.
It's unique insofar I don't even think I need to continue talking about it. Yeah. But in Catacombs, you are basically going to be playing as certain characters that have some sort of asymmetry. For example, a ranger character will have a bow with a disc and then smaller arrow discs that you're flicking around this board. And ultimately, you're going from room to room through this dungeon with the final objective to be to defeat a boss.
And it's 1 versus many.
It's 1 versus many. And ultimately, again, each character has their own little unique traits. and each room is set up and gets more and more progressively more difficult with different monster types that are coming out and different rule types for each room, with the end goal again of defeating a boss. So we very much enjoy dexterity games. It's one of our flicking things around a board is, again, one of our favorite things to do. And this added dungeon crawler to that, which at first I was like, how is this going to work?
Yeah.
This isn't going to work. But it did.
It's so chaotic, but in like a good way, because obviously, like, you can have as much technique flicking as you can have, but like there's obstacles in the way, and then each disc does something different. And then, you know, I like to play as the villain, so I'm kind of like flicking my minions out there, and they all do something different, and it just kind of builds. But yeah, the fact that it's a dexterity dungeon crawler that you're going through like different levels until somebody inevitably wins or loses. Like, it's just, I've never played anything like that.
Yeah, like most dexterity games would follow the crokinole type of mantra where it's just flick and try and get close to the middle or close to a target to score more points. This is the only one I've played where it was like an actual objective based.
And you're building your character, like
flicking
you're building
adventure.
your character out.
Yeah, and sometimes like a monster might come out that has like this massive disc and it's just like bouldering through everything, and it's just we've played a ton of dexterity games up until when we played this, but this was the first one that really felt like it was unique enough that put a game around that mechanic as opposed to just flicking close to a certain thing to score a victory point.
Yeah.
Not play this one.
No, but it sounds very unique. You're saying two words that my mind is like, what? They go together?
But are you not thinking about the other game we have played, which is a dexterity game and a dungeon crawler?
Yeah, but not in that way.
But have you played Dungeon Fighter?
Nope.
That is kind of like, as you say, that is a co-op game. It is a dexterity game, and it is a dungeon crawling game, which we have played a lot. But it's very different. It sounds like. But I was just thinking about that one because that is a very fun game. Do you know anything about it?
No.
Never heard of it.
It is a dice throwing game. So it is a target, like it's basically like a dart board, but you have it on the table, and then you have different characters you play, and also like you have to fight a monster. And he says you have to throw the die, you have to put a die on your head and throw it with your head. Or you have to stand with the back turn and throw it over your shoulders, or you have to like do a pirouette while you do it, or you have to do there's all these different things, or you have to throw it through a ring of fire, and all of these different wacky things. And it's so hard, but it also, I think, one of the most, like, we haven't played it probably now in 8 or 9 years, but it's one that we have had so much fun with.
I want
so
to
if you
play
enjoy
that.
those kind of games,
that game.
That is going. We're now going to we're going to own that game.
And there is a new version of it. They had like a new version, I think, with 4 boxes, which is like there is kind of like the base game, and I think there was 2 expansions before, and there's a new expansion. Oh yeah, it's our turn. We have it's the Our Lost game, and this is also kind of a placeholder.
Yes, we can't find the original box.
No, I think it's somewhere.
It's somewhere.
Maybe in a drawer.
We have this. And this is one of the scenarios for time stories.
This is the second series, kind of.
Yes.
The Revolution series, which we were 100% sure they were not going to make anything more for. And then 2 days ago, a new one released.
Yay! But this is still in plastic. We haven't played this yet, but like this, on this list is time stories in general.
Yes.
Because to me, it's very unique. It is a co-op game, and it says it all in the name of the game. You are like time travelers, and what you're doing is that you're trying to experience a story and figure out what's happened and achieve something. You don't always know.
We can't say more, basically. Everything else is spoilers.
Really?
Yes.
Fair enough.
But what you do is that you're choosing like a card for a scene. Like you can like have 4 cards that make up a picture of a room, for example, and you see like, oh, he's the guy with the hat and the mustache.
He's eating cornflakes.
Yes, I want to talk to him. And I go over there, and only I look at the card, and you look at another card, and then afterwards I can say, oh, I met this man with a mustache. He really wants us to go up in the tree and save his cat, for example. Spoiler alert.
Yes, this is the new scenario.
Yes.
The cat in the tree, it's called. Very good.
And you can say like what you've experienced, and then we decide what to do from there. But what is really, really cool and innovative about this game is that at some point you run out of time. And then you have to do all of the stuff again. And then you're trying to do like, oh, but the man with the cat, that wasn't worth the time, so we're skipping that. And you're trying to move forwards. Yeah, it just blows my mind. And all of the different scenarios are so unique. Not all of them are like the top of the crop, but the top of the crop is it's really good.
The thing for me about time stories is like the first cycle, which they call it, the white cycle, was 10 scenarios. And this is a game that you should play with 4 people, because with less people, you still have to be 4 people, and 1 people have to be more people. I don't usually like that, especially here, because there's, as you said, 2 things. And I don't know why, but they managed it so that placing your thing on your meeple or your cylinder on a card and looking at that card is some of the most engaging and interesting things I have ever done in a board game. And the way they managed to tell a story throughout all those 10 scenarios, and all of them are kind of in like once and done. But when you play them all in order, which you should, then there's also they're trying to tell an overarching story, which is more kind of subtle. And sometimes, like, and there's so stuff happening in there, like this. Some of the stuff happening is better than the best thriller shows on TV. Like, there's stuff happening that you are, again, here's rising, and you are like, what is going on? And that's twists are coming right and left, and things are happening that you never thought would happen. So we have had some of the best gaming experiences ever with time stories, but we kind of also had some of the not best. Because, as you said, it kind of went like this. And in a whole, after we played like the 10th one, it went from being my number 1 game, I think, to dropping out of my top 100 of all time. Because the whole thing ended in a way that was like, not spoiler alert, but it's kind of, but it's, you should, if you start playing it, I think you should play the whole thing to experience it.
Have you played it?
Yes.
We haven't. This is one we've seen, though.
I've almost bought this game multiple times.
Yeah.
It's been recommended to us a bunch, and I think the reason why we never got it was for the player count. We now have better, since we moved last year, and we have more access to more players. But for a long time, it was just Jamie and I. So getting anything that required, and I understand that this doesn't require, but to your point, I also don't like playing multiple people. It's similar like feeling with like Sleeping Gods, where you have to play like multiple characters. It's just too much to manage. So I'd rather play it at like the full intended player count. And so I think that's why it never really got into the collection, but it's definitely one we've been interested in.
Last one on our list.
You're up.
Yes.
Take us home.
It's another one that we don't own. I wish that we did. If I could find this game, I would definitely buy it instantly. And that's called La Boca. And this is another kind of dexterity style game where the game is played on top of the box. Like, the box opens and it builds almost like this arena, and you've got these wooden cubes, and you sit across from your partner, and each person can see one side of the card, which shows them a design that they have to build. But I have to build mine, Jeff has to build his, and they have to match up exactly. So what he's putting on his side is influencing what I can see on my side. So it's like a weird co-op game. It's timed because you're trying to do it as fast as you possibly can. And it's just chaos because you're like, I'm good. And someone else is like, I'm not good. Why do you have that brown cube there? Like, move it. And then you have to like rearrange, and it's great.
It's like this Tetris-y type puzzle.
It's like a spatial puzzle.
There's only like each card has one solution. There's one solution to each puzzle, and there's a specific way that each player has to set their cubes up, because there's like a joint pile of cubes that you're pulling from, or I shouldn't say cubes because they're not all cubes. Of wooden shapes that you're pulling and putting onto this collective board, and it's just chaos because one person could be like, "Yep, I'm good," and the other person's like, "I'm not even close." So then you have to like manipulate these around and like put these pieces back together so that it makes sense for both. It's just such a good time.
It does sound a lot like a game called Mental Blocks.
Not heard of that.
Not heard of that
It's
one.
not. That
Might be
wasn't the one.
I don't know.
But it sounds very similar. It's not the same.
Based on that, I love
Mental Blocks.
Mental Blocks. I would really like to try that game.
Mhm.
But what sounds really bad is that it's impossible to get.
I think that's because it's an older game, and to be fair, like we haven't tried super hard to find it, but you wouldn't see it like sitting at a board game store.
I'm sure if we dug a little bit, we could probably find a copy, but it's one of those things where it's like, do we need another game? Maybe not. If we saw it somewhere, though, we would buy it.
Well, those are 10 games from each of us because you would have seen the first 5.
Because you didn't cheat.
You watched the first
You watched part
video.
1 first.
Like, I know everybody here did exactly that. That's exactly
And
what
again, we will
did.
know and we will call you out.
100%. But that is everything that we have. Please make sure that if you haven't already, that you do go and check out Board Gaming Ramblings. Give them a subscribe. Show them some love. We appreciate you guys joining us. This has been super fun. We spent like the whole afternoon together, and I guess for you guys the whole evening.
Yes.
This has been great. Thank you, everyone, so much for watching. If you are interested in buying board games like any of the many we mentioned today,
Except for La Boca.
You should first start by checking your friendly local gaming store. And for us, that is
The Boardroom Game Cafe.
Do you guys have a friendly local gaming store?
We have like a chain called Outland. That's the closest thing in Norway.
Perfect. Well, if you're in Norway, do that. If you're interested in snacks, check out
Munchback.
And that is everything that we have for you guys today. So thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see,
Please subscribe.
we hope to see you again soon. And now we say goodbye. Goodbye.
Later it is.
Bye.
It's like, yeah, you're almost right, but you're not quite right. And I'm like, what?
Words. So you can just like the game. If you don't like the game, you can just play with the coins.
My brain,
And you get
my
like
brain
this
likes
nice.
that a lot.
Yeah. That's
This is
awesome.
something that works very well, my brain.
I was like, what? You put it on my finger. Woohoo!
That was fun.
We did it.
We did it.